So, hi guys, I'm here with David Michie from Michie Violins on Locust Street here in Philadelphia. And we're both a little nervous because this isn't what we do. So, we're gonna just go with the flow and see how it goes. I have some questions from you guys, but I just thought that I would do a little brief introduction so David can tell you about his shop. You can get to know him a little bit because he's such a fun and a nice person. And then I'm going to answer a couple of your questions, and then we'll just kind of talk about the instrument process. So maybe finding a budget and what the process is like so that you can be educated when you go look for an instrument. Okay, so are you all ready?
Yes, I am. Okay. Hi, I'm David. So I've been in business now for 30 years. I specialize in working with families for finding violins, violas, and cellos for mainly kids who start from 3 years old and go straight on up to adults. And actually, I'm in some families, second generation of finding instruments for children of parents who were children when their parents came to me when I first started in business. So I specialize in small fractional size violins and also full size violins from beginner up through conservatory level players. So what does that mean? Our full size violins start around about $1,500. That's a violin bow in a case, and it goes up from there. So you're like, oh my God, that's so much money. So, and it's just it can be, from a beginner standpoint, a very overwhelming process. And I remember when I was a kid, it was a miserable time when I had to look for a violin.
I actually had no idea what I was doing.
Oh,
we didn't have any, like I was from Arizona, and we didn't have any shops like this there. So I had no idea.
I had no idea.
So if you have no idea,
my parents had no idea.
Right.
And it turns out my teacher knew even less.
Right.
So when I found I was going into this profession, I wanted my goal to be make it a user-friendly and as an approachable process as possible.
It's very user-friendly. So
let's talk about how I like to feel the process works. So the first thing I never want to do is spend more of your money than you really want to spend. And unfortunately, there are some shops in this field that they'll stick in a more expensive violin. Yeah, it'll sound better, it'll be nicer, and they automatically fall in love with it, and all of a sudden they find they're spending more money than they want to. That's I find that to be very unethical.
Mm-hmm. And also, they may even give you an instrument that's not worth what it's actually,
Yes.
you know, they're selling it to you for.
Yes.
And you don't even know, because sometimes they don't have even a label on them, and how are you supposed to know,
Right.
you know?
And that's where confidence and trust in who you are dealing with is so very, very important. I think it's almost, it's tantamount
Yeah, I think so
to
too.
purchasing an instrument.
Yeah.
So whoever you deal with, you need to find out the reputation of the shop and the reputation for fairness, the reputation for giving good instruments that are fairly priced.
Yeah.
So, and the most important thing I find is whatever you purchase and whoever you deal with, they need to stand behind that instrument.
Yes, that's very important. And especially if you have any problems with your instrument, then you can go back.
Right.
And they'll look after it for you. It's like getting a car from a car dealership. You know?
We call it, when an instrument, someone purchases an instrument from me, I like to look at it about once a year, and I call it the 100,000 note checkup. So
That's nice. I like that. Actually, I told you guys yesterday that when you buy an instrument from David, you get David as well.
Yes. So that my responsibility begins with whomever purchases a violin from me when they purchase the violin.
Right.
Yeah, things might change. Instruments react to weather. They're made out of wood. They're organic, living creatures, in my opinion. And
They have personality.
yes, they do. Just like us musicians.
That's why you want to try them before you buy them.
Yes. And they react to weather. That things can change. So you're practicing, you're playing, and might have sounded good a little while ago, but lately it's just sounding cranky and not responding to the way you want it to. Okay, part of it might be us as a musician, or it might be the instrument. So then you call the person who you purchased it from, make an appointment, bring it in, and have them take a look at it. There's a little piece of wood inside the instrument called the sound post. And the Italian word for sound post is anima. And the definition of anima is soul. So it's really, the Italians consider it the soul of the violin, or viola or cello. And that can move, because it's not glued, it's held in there by tension, and as wood expands and contracts in relationship to its environment, it can move. So, just might need a little tap, might need a little adjustment. Bridge needs to be checked every once in a while. Sometimes the instruments come unglued.
It happens.
So you need someone who will stand behind your purchase.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so let's get into it. So I have a couple questions from you guys, and the most frequently asked question that I get is, what is the difference between a Strad and a beginner's violin? What is the difference? Is there a difference?
Yes and no. They're all made, like the tops are all made out of spruce, Strad and a beginner violin. The backs, the ribs, which are the sides, and the scrolls, generally are made out of maple. If you have a handmade violin, it will overall, to the untrained eye, look similar to a Strad. But now that's where the similarities end. Strad basically brought the level of making and the concept of the violin to a level that really hasn't been exceeded in the last 350 years. Really quite amazing. believe it or not, amongst musicians, Strad was not the most accepted maker of his time. Musicians and composers like Mozart, for example, he preferred playing on violins by a maker named Jacob Steiner, who worked in Germany. What happened was the instruments did evolve a little bit in relationship with the necks and the bass bars in the 19th century as composers started writing more technical pieces for violinists, and as violinists started playing in actual concert halls as opposed to palaces and chamber music venues. So those instruments were able to project in larger venues than the German instruments that were popular in the 18th century.
So it was the sound was beginning to change.
Yes.
Would you say? Okay.
The sound was beginning to change, and the technical demands on the instruments were beginning to change.
Yeah, that's also true. Because the instrument that Paganini played on, he needed that kind of
violin,
like, Lamborghini.
Yes,
to,
exactly.
Like achieve the technical
that would respond to what his commands were of the instrument.
Right. And pianos went through a similar process too. Many instruments did, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Yeah. So are they evolving still?
I think pianos have probably reached their ultimate potential for now, unless something comes up that it totally changes the style of what it is. But
then it wouldn't be maybe a piano anymore.
Well, none of us have crystal balls. So we never know what it's going to be, what's going to happen. Yeah, but Paganini was writing in the early 1800s. 200 years before then, in the 1600s, there was no Paganini. There was no concertos like that.
The music was totally different, wasn't it?
It was Vivaldi and Bach was writing, but people didn't really know about Bach.
Right.
It wasn't until later that his brilliance started to shine through.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
the Strads and the Del Gesù, Guarnerius families, they were the greatest from a musician standpoint. Now, we also talk about the actual artistic craftsmen of the instrument. These guys were geniuses, and they were beautiful artisans in their craft. You take a beautiful violin, and then you age it naturally for 350 years, and you just get something that's amazing.
Actually, one question. Does it matter that the players that were playing these instruments helped to age it in the best way because of the intonation or the overtones or the
instruments thrive on use.
Okay.
They do not thrive on abuse.
Okay.
So these, the violin is a little over 500 years old in its modern form, and there are instruments. 500-year-old instruments that are still being played.
Right, isn't that amazing?
It's incredible.
It's amazing.
So I like to think that when we own a violin, we really don't own it.
Right.
We are the caretakers.
Right. That's just out of the red violin, isn't it?
Well, yes, the red violin it's very, that's what happened with these instruments.
That's right. They're made with the Fibonacci sequence, right? Is part of the violin. The proportions, the mathematics, which is found in all living things, the Fibonacci sequence. So, they share that same mathematical proportions.
Yeah, it's remarkable.
Okay, well, let me go on to the next question. This one is just about looking for traits. When you're looking at a new instrument, what kind of negative things should you look for to try to avoid? Are there any things in specific, like, maybe balance or wolf tones or the playability, the ease?
When you try violins, it is really, it's almost a symbiotic relationship, player to instrument. The player has to be able to give commands, and the instrument needs to be responsive to those commands. And some instruments are going to respond to a particular person more so than others. So
that's why they're like people. They really are. You need to try them before you buy them.
Yeah. We have a customer, a longtime family. The violinist was 12 about the time, and she gave me a little gift. It was a sign, and it was a quote from one of the Harry Potter books, and it's because the wand chooses the wizard. And I snuck it up downstairs on my entry room, and everybody loves it because it's once they realize what the process is, and once they go through the process, it's part of that. So you will try some violins. Now, it also depends on your level of proficiency as a violinist. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're a beginning violinist, right, you don't have the commands, you don't have the ear training, the technique to draw out what a particular violin has to offer. Right. So therefore, you do need to rely either on your teacher or a professional friend or the shop that you're dealing with to give you the best possible combination of instrument and bow to where you are at in your musical journey. Mm-hmm. So
that actually could segue into finding a budget. What is a proper budget for a beginner, or let's say they're in school and you're a beginner, and then you're intermediate, and then maybe you're in high school and you think, oh, I want to go to college, and that kind of budget versus a professional musician budget who is doing auditions and competitions and things like that. Maybe we could start with the beginner, maybe someone who's maybe like very young, or maybe someone who's a hobbyist, but they're nonetheless a beginner. What would be a good budget?
Okay, so now if you're a beginner, you can be a beginner at any stage in life.
That's right.
So you can be a beginner at 3 years old. You could be a beginner at 13 years old. You could be a beginner at 23 years old. It just, it doesn't matter when you start. It's the fact that you are starting and you are entering this wonderful realm of music.
That's right.
And music is a gift. It's a gift to you, and it's a gift that's given to you, and it's also a gift that's given to who you are playing for. Okay, so that's it. So let's start with the 3-year-old. We have violin outfits that start around $450, violin, bow, and case, and they're small.
They're like a Christmas tree ornament.
Yeah, a little bit bigger than that. Yeah, but yes, exactly. And people can't believe that they make that type of sound. And then as the violinist grows, then they will trade in that instrument. At least in our shop, we give what's called a 100% trade. So you buy that violin for $450. They have it for 2 years, and they need to go to the next size.
Right. This is so nice, because a lot of times you buy something and then you just have it, and then you have to sell it, or you just keep accumulating them, and it's just so great. I love this policy.
And violins hold their value if they're cared for. It's not like an automobile where you take it out of the shop, walk down the street, and you've lost half the value. It doesn't happen. Now, say in a couple years they trade that in, you basically get what you paid for it to apply to the next size. Now, here we do charge for a set of strings and a bow rehair. It's about $110 right now. So, but the balance-in is applied to the next size. And over the years, as they move through, let's see, there's about 6 different sizes before they get to full size, that you're accumulating equity. Now, let's say they're practicing, parents are very encouraging, or make them practice, and they will improve. And so let's use the example of, just for standardization, the Suzuki books. They'll start out Suzuki book 1, and then they'll move into book 2, and then they'll move into book 3. Well, if they're in book 3, that's probably, and they're in a half size now, they need something better than the standard beginning level violin, because their technique and their musicality is such that they're demanding more of that instrument than what they had before.
That's right. I just wanted to add one thing. I always tell my students that if you can think of a tool, you use the right tool for the right thing. For example, you can have a steak knife or you could have a butter knife. They both are tools. They do similar. They both cut, but you wouldn't use a steak knife to butter your bread, and you wouldn't use a butter knife to cut some steak. So you might see a violin outfit on Amazon for like $200, $250, but the tool that is may not be the right one for you to learn on, because it's going to be harder. It's going to make your life harder. You might end up feeling like you're trying to cut a piece of steak with a butter knife type of thing. So when you have a nice instrument like like a beginning instrument that you'll find at David's,
or from a respectable violin
right, or
shop.
I just love you so much. So forgive me, I'm like an infomercial. But that's one of the reasons why you would want to get something nice, because the tool is better and it's going to make your life easier. Violin's hard to play.
It's a hard enough instrument to learn to play in the first place.
Right.
And I see so many kids come in playing pieces of junk, no offense, that not even a professional can make sound good. So if a professional who's been studying it for years can't do it, how are you supposed to do it as a beginner and get any enjoyment out of it? Okay, so now let's go to full-size violins. My experience in this profession, I feel like most of the cheap stuff online is basically junk. And I see people buy these $100 and $200 violins, and they come in and they want me to fix them up for them, and I say, no, you wasted your money.
Right.
Our level of full-size violins start at $1,500, and of course they go up from there. I sell violins from $1,500 up to $45,000.
I'll take that one.
But you may not like it.
That's true.
You may not, as a violinist, you may not like it. But it's a beautiful violin for the right person.
Right. That's true.
That is true. So what's the process? Okay, you'll call David Michie Violins and say, hi, I'm looking to purchase a violin for either myself or for my child. Our first question to you is, what's your budget? How much do you want to spend? Because always know there are more expensive violins out there, and there are always better violins out there. And you may not be ready at this point in your life, and this point in your musical path, to be able to handle a violin that's way more expensive. Strads can go
millions and millions.
Millions. Like $10 to $15 million. Right. I wish we all had that, but we don't. So we need to start realistically what our budget is, and I never exceed that budget. But now your job is to find the best sounding instrument and the best combination for you within your particular budget. So we would then set up an appointment. You come on in. There's a table right behind us. We would lay out 6 or 8 violins within that price range. Let's say they're looking. Say you want to spend between $1,500 and $2,000. I'll put 8 violins out there. Some are $1,500, some are $1,800, some are $2,000. What makes violin? The $1,500 violins are usually handmade Chinese. $2,000 violins, I go into European at that point. So I have a particular shop I like to deal with who works in Brussels.
I like those violins.
I've
tried a few of them.
They're my go-to $2,000 violins. When you go up to about $2,500, now in my shop you go into German instruments. All my instruments are handmade. There's no machine violins at all to be found in this place. So, okay, so you have 8 violins in your price range. I don't tell you the prices. I want you to try the violins and you just focus on sound and comfort. So you'll play one violin and then you'll play another violin. And I recommend that you then decide between those 2 violins which one you like better. Right. And there's a winner and a loser. I hate using those words, but anyway. So you just turn the user around or decide which one of those 2. Then you go to the next 2. Mm-hmm. Do the same process, go to the next 2, and then the final next 2. So you've gone from 8 down to 4. Right. Now it becomes a little less overwhelming. Then I recommend you go through that process again. You take those 4, decide which of those, take 2, decide which one you like better, take the other 2, try which one you like better. Mm-hmm. And then you take those instruments home. Mm-hmm. You know, and if you have a hard time narrowing down to 2, then you take 3 home. I like to tease people, especially kids. I say, okay, you're going to take 3 instruments home. You know what that means?
What does it mean?
And they look scared. It's like, I got to take care of them. I said, yes, but that's not what I'm looking for. Keep them out of the car. No, what? You got to practice 3 times as much. So anyway, and then they start to laugh, and the parents love it, and they start to clap because parents.
It's true.
Parents' dream is to get to practice. Yes. Now, it's a courtship. We mentioned that earlier. You need to then take these instruments home. They're going to sound different in your house than they sound in my shop. And you need to really get to know them. Play your scales. Play your etudes. Play your pieces that your teacher has you work on. And then you're going to start to form opinions, and you're going to start to feel, wow, I like this one better than this one. And your goal is to find the instrument that will take you down this path of your musical journey. So now you're practicing, you're improving. If you practice and if you continue to improve, the day will come when that instrument, all of a sudden, you're going to want to do things to that violin. Right. Musically, technically. Projection. Colors,
characters.
That, oh my gosh, I know I can do this. I know I want to achieve this, but the violin isn't working.
Mm-hmm. Or even the bow as well.
Yes, exactly right. So then, what do? You call us at David Michie Violins. You say, I'm ready for the next level. And we ask you what your budget is. And so say you have a $2,000 violin now. They want to add $2,000 to $3,000 more to that $2,000. Okay, so you're in the $4,000 to $5,000 price range. We give you a selection of instruments in that price range. You go through the same process again, and you will feel a difference, and you will hear a difference. Mm-hmm. Parents, once this process has gone through, parents will call me and they will say, "Oh my gosh, my son or daughters, they sound so much better."
Yeah.
And it's so much more enjoyable. We call it the virtuous circle. So you get a better violin. The violin sounds better. You sound better. You're inspired to practice more. The more you practice, the better you become. The better you become, the more enjoyable it is. The more enjoyable it is, the more you want to practice. Right. The more you practice, the better you become. So it's really an amazing process.
It is.
Goes on.
Of self-growth as well.
Yes, exactly. Will we all get to Carnegie Hall? No. Maybe. Yeah.
Come on, don't be
I'm going to be in the audience. But it's a gift. Music is a gift. Playing is a gift. I have customers from 3 years old up to late 80s who are still playing, mm-hmm. and they just.
That's got to tell you about his customer service. When you go to a place that has customers for generations and for their lifetime, that's why I wanted to connect you guys with David, because I know I sound like a commercial, but the point of this thing is to educate you so that you know what you're getting into when you buy an instrument, and then to connect you with a shop here that you know that you can always come to. So that's kind of the goal of this. I hope you learned something. There's actually some instruments on the table here, but I just wanted to leave you with a couple of thoughts. When you're trying an instrument, I think that you should definitely check to see the playability of it. You know, as you're comparing all of the instruments, you'll see some that are maybe, you need to work a little bit harder to get the sound out. And then some just kind of like jump out. The sound just is like, I'm ready to go. And it's very easy to play it. And, also the strings can make a difference in that too. So I'm the worst. I always come in here and I'm like, can you put on some Eva Perazzi strings, or can you put on these strings? And it's because I'm curious what the strings will bring out of the instrument.
You want to try to find the greatest potential, realize the greatest potential of a particular violin. And they're all different. And I might set up a violin with one set of strings, and then you might play it, and somebody might want to try another set of strings.
Right.
So we're more than happy to do that for you when you try violins.
And it's very nice.
Yeah.
So playing the instrument, the playability, and also notice any differences in characters. So you might notice that, a violin might just sound like a plain old violin sound, but then another one out of that same set might actually have a little bit more personality in the sound, which is pretty cool. And as a violist, I personally really love the lower strings, the G and the D strings, and those ones to me are the ones that I do want a little bit more character in them, so more depth of sound. So when I find something that's ready to go playability wise, and then it has a little character on the bottom strings, I'm like, I love this instrument. It also should be pretty well balanced, so you don't want to have like a G string that's like really loud, and then the E string is totally muted. So can you adjust that with the sound post?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, so that's another reason why you'd want to be moving the sound post a little bit and go to a place that could actually do that for you when you're trying it out. Any other?
You want to buy a violin from a reputable violin shop rather than a general music store or somebody or a place where they just view it as a commodity as opposed to a real instrument.
Right. They know how to fix it and look after it for you, and that's important. Another thought is that you would maybe want to look for wolf tones and weird notes as you're playing the fingerboard. Notice if there's certain notes that you really they sound weird to your ear. So on my viola, for example, whenever I play an A flat, G sharp, same thing, it just sounds weird to me, and it's very frustrating because that's a key, that's a note that I encounter a lot. And so I don't, that's one of the things I would watch out for. Also, see if you can play a scale up a couple positions, maybe 5th, 6th, 7th position, just see what it sounds like way up there to see if it can take it. And then you can also use the bow to see what type of sound you can get out of it. I'm sorry, I hijacked this.
Oh, that's right. No, you're doing great.
But I've done this a lot with my students. Yeah. So anyway, one little thought about the bow as well, if you can just test to see how balanced it is, by doing, spiccato or trying to play with a nice big loud sound, you might actually play some Bach versus playing like a concerto and just see, what the bow can take, what you can get out of it.
And another interesting thing, I always recommend people, when they're trying violins, play a scale. Yeah. Play a piece of etude, play a concerto or whatever piece you're working on, and do that same regimen for each violin you're trying, so that you want to level the playing field as much as possible. Once you've decided on a violin that you want to be yours, then you move to the bow. Now, I could have a violin and I can have 10 bows, and I will get 10 different colors out of that violin with a different bow.
Yeah.
Now you need to have the technique and the musicality to be able to hear those differences, which with practice you will. practice.
Right.
So generally, when you're trying the violins, I just recommend you just stick with one bow for now. Then once you settle on the violin, then you'll try a couple bows, and you'll hear different colors, and then you'll decide which color you like better. And then once you decide that, then you decide, okay, I like the sound of this bow. Now, does the bow have a balance that I like? Does it have a response that I like? And if all the answers are right, or yes, then that's the right bow for you.
Yeah. And it may change with time.
Yes,
but
it will.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I think we should. But this
Yeah.
is. I don't want to take your whole day. I could talk to you all day. So can we maybe take a look at some of the instruments back here?
Sure.
Okay. All right.
All right, so you're an adult beginner, or else you are moving into your first full-size violin, and you're looking in a price range between $1,500 and $2,500. I have 6 violins here on the table. Do you want to do the honors, or do you want me to do
Sure,
it?
I can do it. Let me grab a little. I always use a cloth because I'm crazy like that.
So this particular violin is my standard $1,500 instrument. It's a modern Chinese violin. It's labeled Pietro Lamberti. Handmade instrument.
Do you have any shoulder? Can I grab one of those
Yes,
shoulder rests over there? Okay,
absolutely.
let me grab one of those.
What I have on the table here are 2 $1,500, 2 $2,000s, and 2 $2,500s. But you, as the person who's trying it, I'm not going to tell you that. I'm just going to say, here's the range.
Okay, and we just picked a random bow.
Yep.
So, can I play some open strings maybe?
Yes.
Okay. Probably should tighten the bow. Shouldn't I tighten the bow? That would be smart.
Okay, now we're going to try another $1,500 violin. Every violin has its own voice. The anatomy is basically the same. It's like we all have the same anatomy. We all have a larynx, we all have a voice box, but we all sound different. And a violin, every violin will sound different too.
That's right. Okay, so here we go. Sounds a lot different, doesn't
Yes,
it?
it
I don't
does.
know if you guys can hear that through, because David has his little microphone on here, and maybe I should turn to face you. I'm not sure. We're new at this, so we'll just see. But anyway, we'll see if it comes out.
So Amber, which of these 2 violins do you like better?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think that I like this one a little bit better, actually.
Now Amber is a professional violinist, and she can make a decision much quicker than, say, a beginner violinist or somebody who's a student.
That's true.
So you would need to do a lot more playing than what we're demonstrating right here.
Right. And so if I just had to pick between these 2, I would say I like this one a little bit more because of the projection. I think that it's kind of louder. It has
It
something.
sounds like it's easier to play.
Yeah, it's a little bit easier to play. The other one, just in comparison, sounds a little more muted, actually.
And I
to
get the
me.
impression you had to work harder
Yeah, so you would have
to achieve what you want to do.
Right, so to project the sound. Also, not that it matters at all, but this one actually is really pretty looking. It doesn't matter at all, but this one's kind of more of like a work of art to me. I just, look at that back, it's so beautiful. Anyway, so that would be my choice.
You know, when it comes to music, love is blind.
Right, love is
Love
totally
is
blind. It shouldn't matter, but I just wanted to show you guys.
Okay, so now we have a winner of our 2 $1,500 ones. Now we're going to move up to the next price range, which is $2,000.
Oh, wait a minute. There we go. Okay, let me show you guys this one. This one's a lot deeper color. So this one's 2,000 then?
Yes.
Okay.
And this is made in Belgium.
About the sound. It has more
It's a more complex sound.
Yeah, I would say.
It's sounds smoother to my ear, and also I get the impression it's more fun to play.
Yeah,
so,
I would say maybe we need to try a different bow with it. This bow doesn't get along with this one very well.
Okay.
But can we try that? Can we try that?
Yep.
This one makes the sound seem a little more muted to me, at least under my ear. Under your ear and in the room is totally different. So let's see. I actually like the feel of this bow better. You know, the feeling in your hand as well is kind of important. So how comfortable does the bow feel in your hand? Interesting.
The various combinations is mind-boggling. And so we have this violin. Now we're going to try another 2,000 and decide which one of these two violins you like better. Now that's a one-piece back.
Interesting.
A one-piece back is not necessarily better than a two-piece back. So I know some people think, oh, if it's a one-piece, it has to be better, and that's not necessarily the case. So that's one of the myths of violins that should be discarded. Because Stradivarius made one-piece back violins, and he also made more two-piece back instruments.
Isn't it a bit easier to make two-piece back instruments, or?
It's actually easier to make a one-piece back because you don't have to make the center seam.
Right.
But the issue is one-piece backs are about twice as expensive as the wood for two-piece backs.
I see.
So that's, depending on how much money the violin maker had at the time.
I see. That's interesting. Whoa, this one's different. I think I like this one better.
It's more. It's a brighter.
It's definitely brighter. Yeah.
Pungent sound.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now let's play the $1,500 violin that we liked.
To compare.
And then we'll play the $2,000 violin we like, and just see what you think.
It's a great idea. This one is just definitely the winner. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing. I mean, they're only like $500 apart, you know.
Right.
And I mean, even the ones that are the same price sound different, but this one has some personality. I like it.
So, but if you don't have the $2,000 to spend, that's not an issue. You just stay within your price point. Then that would be the $1,500, and then we take it from there.
Right.
And we're just gonna go. We're gonna just have a little bit more fun. This is a $2,500 violin. This is a German instrument from a shop in Germany, and it's a very popular maker amongst my customers. That I sell a lot of these.
Okay. Ooh, I like this one. I'm always trying out the G string. I'm a violist. What can I say? I like the lower strings. That's nice. I really like it. This is so fun. It's like going wine tasting, cheese tasting, or I don't know.
You know, for you young ladies out there, I liken it. You're going to a party and you have to buy a party dress, and you go to the dress shop and you pull out all these instruments. You pull out all these dresses. And you go into the back and you try them on. And your object is to find a violin or to find a dress in your price point that you look fabulous in. And it feels fabulous, and it makes you feel fabulous. It's the same thing with violins, you know?
It totally is.
It really is.
Yeah. Can give you that extra confidence boost, you know? Ooh. Brighter sounding. They're similar. I would say the other one is darker sounding, more mellow. Yeah. This one has some more brightness to it, doesn't it?
Yes, and then this is where your preference comes in.
Right.
You know, you might like the darker, mellower sound. You might like the brighter. You know,
right, more sound. Projection sound. Yeah.
They're both fine. They're both. It's all good. It's just what works best for you.
Yeah.
So, and it's here. It's, when you come into the shop, it's hard to make a decision immediately. So you would take 2 or 3 violins home for the week, and as I said earlier, then you really get to know them. I strongly urge you to rely upon the expertise of your teacher, because your teacher knows you're playing better than you know you're playing, and the teacher will know what can help you move down your musical path in a more fun manner.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Do you look after clients that live outside of Philadelphia?
Yes, I do, and I have many clients who have lived here in Philadelphia and then have moved to different parts of the country. And there's a wonderful thing called UPS. They'll send me back their violin to check it over to work on. I have a family that was here. They moved to Salt Lake City. Every year I get a box of violins that I check over, change the strings, clean them up, adjust them, send them back. They're very happy. And then I'll have somebody who is living, I've even had customers from Alaska that I've sent violins for them to try it in Alaska.
That's so neat. I mean, this is why I'm so excited about it again, is just because when I was little, I didn't have like any places to go, and it's just so neat. It's neat that you were, all over the place. Anyway, so you guys, I hope that this was helpful and informative for you. This was really fun for me. Did you have fun?
That was great.
Okay.
I'm here to help.
Yeah, we're both here to help you out. So
your teacher is, we are here, and any good violin shop should have the same philosophy and commitment to you as a musician.
Yeah, and you as a customer too.
Yeah.
So you guys, I will see you soon. If you have any other questions, just comment below and let me know. And I will put David's information in the link in the information below.
And it was wonderful. You were so lucky to have her as a teacher.
Thank
really.
you. Thanks, David.
Great.
All right. Well, I'll see you guys soon, okay? Take care. Bye. Happy practicing. I hope you guys enjoyed that. That was really fun for me to do that. So I'll see you soon.